include Women Leaders Award from Great Place to Work Nigeria in 2019, as well as being ranked 1 out of 49 international speakers from all over the world at the 2021 Champions of Talent Development International Virtual Conference.
She also holds a master's degree in business administration with a specialization track in marketing from the University of Liverpool, United Kingdom. She is an associate of the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management, CIPM, a member of WIMBIZ, a member of the Learning and Development Network International, and a member of the Nigerian Employers.
And so, with a resounding round of applause and a standing ovation, please
welcome
on stage,
to
this stage
our very first storyteller at the Ode to Greatness,
Alli.
Mrs. Adejoke Alli.
Don't stop clapping, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very
much.
much.
A round of applause, please.
Oh my. Thank you so much, everyone. I am super excited to be here today. Honestly, I listened to the introduction. I'm thinking, is that really me? So I'm super excited to be here. Thank you to Hezekiah for the vision about Ode, an Ode to Greatness today. So I'll be trying to share my story, my humble story, and I'm hoping that in sharing that story, you will take 1 or 2, lessons away from that. So I'll start by introducing myself. My name is Adejoke Alli. I'm the General Manager, Human Resources and Admin at Fitson Healthcare PLC. So some of you may already know Fitson Healthcare PLC. We're a pharmaceutical company, wholly indigenous. In other words, we are Nigerian. We grew from scratch. And so we're proudly Nigerian. And we're into the sales and manufacturing of healthcare products and services. Some of you may already know some interesting brands like Astamine, Ciprotab, Gascol, those products actually, quite a number of them are manufactured in Nigeria by my organization. So that's who we are at Fitson. What do I do at Fitson? Being the general manager, HR and admin, I'm in charge of human resources. In other words, the people agenda. So everybody within the organization, things that affect them, I'm in charge of that. But I'm not here to bore you about, what I do at work. I'm here to share my story. So I'll start with my childhood. Just a brief story. I was born into a family of 6 as the 4th born. And growing up was an interesting one. I know for some people in the audience, you probably may have enjoyed more than I did, and some may not have had the privileges that I had. But I enjoyed my childhood, from riding bikes, I lived in an estate, and doing all those things, it was fun. So the first lesson I'm going to say is that 1, enjoy your youth. Enjoy your youth because, life is an irony. People that are older want to live, when they were young. And people that are younger want to gain that autonomy. They want to do, things that adults do. But the truth is that with benefit of hindsight, we all look back and say, you know what? Those days when I didn't have a care in the world, all I had to do, students from ISL today, I'm sure you just have your bath, wear your clothes, go to school. You don't have to worry about the house rent. You don't have to worry about paying the bills. You don't have to worry about anything. So enjoy it while it lasts, because as an adult, you will begin to, face some responsibilities as you grow older. So enjoy your youth while it lasts. So that's the first thing that I want to share with you. Now, moving on to the second thing. Right. So I'll tell you a story about my journey. I started at University of Lagos as a pharmacist. You will spend 1 year at University of Lagos in Akoka, then you move to College of Medicine, Ide Araba. So I started, 1 year. So any Akokites in the house, greatest Akokites? Great. Right, so I started, here 1 year. And, just like any jambite, you are starting school, you are just going with the flow. You don't really have any clear direction. You just want to go with the flow. And, of course, crossing over to medical school. I don't know if there's anybody that has passed through medical school here. But honestly, in medical school, it is tough. Anybody that has gone through medical school will tell you that it's not easy. And so it's not just medicine and surgery, pharmacy, physiotherapy, pharmacology, all those courses, depending on what you want, you pass through medical school. And personally, there was something I hated. You know what it was? Can anybody guess? In school. What do you hate most in school? Sorry? God bless you. I wasn't different. So I'm no different from you. I hated exams. I didn't want to write I just didn't like it. But I had to write my exams. But you know what? I got a shocker. I got a shocker because in 200 level, there was a course I failed. So you heard all the first regional sales manager, first general manager. I'm sure you thought everything was just all hunky-dory and smooth. But you know what? I failed the course, PCH 202. I'll never forget that course, pharmaceutical chemistry. I failed that course and it was like, you know when your eyes clear? Because I was like, how do I go home and tell my father that I failed the course? I know what was even more painful about that course. It was what you call a prerequisite. Who knows what a prerequisite is? Anybody want to help with what a prerequisite is? I heard greatest acokites now. Can you give someone the mic? Maybe because I want it to be as interactive as possible. Yes, you want to try. Oh, an ISL student, great. Okay, yes, that's true. It's a course subject. But a prerequisite is that you have to pass that course before you move on to the next one. So it's in like levels. But it was the only field. I passed every other course. So I moved on to 300 level. But automatically, I had to be in 300 level doing a 200 level PharmChem course. And you know what that did to my psyche? I started asking myself, me that I was a straight A1 student in secondary school, like A1, everything. And then here I am, I failed the course. Who am I going to tell? But you know what? Rather than discourage me, it encouraged me to say, you know what? You really need to get your act together. And so in 300 level, I had to be doing a 200 level course, which meant that I had to leave my 300 level mates and go into 200 level class and do it. But you know what? It wasn't about ego or pride at that moment. It was just about getting it done. Focus on what it is that you want to achieve. And so I passed 202 and I was pretty excited. And then I moved to 400 level. Remember, I didn't do my 300 level PharmChem and I also had to do my 400 level PharmChem. So the good thing was I was allowed to do both courses at the same time. And that was the saving grace. Because what happens times when you fail a prerequisite is that you get an extra year. If you are not given that opportunity to do what? To do both at the same time. And so that was my saving grace, that I was able to do a 301 and 401. So it was double wahala because when my mates were doing only one PharmChem course, I had to be doing two PharmChem courses. And so that hatred for exam, that hatred for going the extra mile, I swept it under the rug. Nothing like that. All those structures in chemistry that I wasn't interested in looking at, man, I was cramming structures. I was looking at the structures. I was telling you the carbon bond is here, the hydrogen bond is here. This is how everything I didn't want to focus on, I focused on. Why? Because I had a goal. And you know what? I cleared 301, I cleared 401 in the same, class. I know what was interesting. Because of that experience, I got that opportunity to do what? To recalibrate. But the truth is, at times in life, not everybody gets that opportunity to recalibrate. So you want to ensure that from now, you're already doing what? You're already making sense of every decision or action you're taking because you may not get a second chance. But I did get a second chance. And so in my 500 level, I told myself, nothing like that. There's no way I'm going to go back home to tell anybody that I had an extra year only because I failed to focus. Because, I felt I knew what I was doing. So in my 500 level, my CGPA, only in 500 level, was over 4 point something out of 5, just for 1 year. Ultimately, I ended up with like a 3.67. It was a 2-1. In pharmacy school, it's pass or fail. But you will be seeing your CGPA to let you know whether or not you're on track or not on track. And so I ended up with a 2-1. And then I asked myself, even my 500 level, I was over 4 points. For 1 year, only because I told myself, no messing around, focus. Imagine what it would have been if from my 200 level, I'd been diligent. I'd paid that much attention to getting my grades right. Maybe I'd have come out with a first class distinction or whatever. But you know what? It's okay, we leave that for some people. So ultimately, the lesson is that you focus on what is happening and ensure that at the end of the day, you know what? You are, paying attention to what is important because you may not get second chances. So like I said, be resilient. That's the other learning. Because life will hit you with so many issues. But ultimately, you have to be resilient. And resilience means that even when failures happen, it doesn't define you. You are not a failure. The real challenge is when something happens to you and you fall down, but you don't get up. That is the real challenge. So again, let everybody realize that life will throw lemons at you. But you know what? You make what? You make lemonades out of lemons. All right. So that's another thing, that I'd love to share with you. Now, another thing I realize is that, look, start investing in yourself. From a young age, don't wait till you're much older. Because I realized that, if only I had started early in focusing on my grades and what is important to me, perhaps I'd have been much better. So start investing in yourself for now. Now, let me just fast forward a bit. So I finished pharmacy school and then, internship. If you study pharmacy for 5 years, there's a 1-year internship that you will have to do. And I told myself, because I'm a sort of independent person, I told myself, you know what, I'm not going to go back to my parents to ask for money or anything. I'm done with school. I want to stand on my own. I want to be able to do things on my own. And so my parents had traveled, and I told myself, you know what, I'm going to get an internship position, and I'm not going to have to ask my parents for it. I'm going to go all out to ensure that I achieve that internship position. I went to all sorts of, government institutions because I was looking for an internship position. But you know what? That whole day went and I didn't get anything. And I said, God, I prayed to you. I told you that I must get something before my parents come back. And so you know what? Okay, I got to Ikeja bus stop. I'd entered the bus. So yes, maybe I have an SUV outside. But then I was jumping bus just like everybody. So I entered the bus and I sat down and I kept thinking, wow, the whole day wasted. And lo and behold, Ikeja bus stop. When you look to your left, there's a very big pharmacy there. Does anybody know which pharmacy it is? Anybody? Julie Pharmacy. I was in the bus. That bus, I lived in Ojodu Estate then. That bus was supposed to take me home. It was just the last bus. So from Ikeja straight to Ojodu. So I sat in that bus and I was like dejected. And I just looked to my left and I saw Julie Pharmacy. And I said, wait a minute. I mean, that bus is just a matter of time. Bus is almost full. But you know what I did? I got down. I said, you know what, at all, go and try. I got down and I entered that pharmacy. And I said, look, I'm here. I'm looking for an internship role and, whatever opportunities. And you know what the pharmacist told me? Oh, we are looking for an intern. It was like, what? We are looking for an intern. Oh, you know what? The person that said she was going to start just called us, was it yesterday, and said she wasn't coming anymore. And so that role is open. Like play. That's how I got internship position. The last bus stop, I had entered that bus to go home. I just did what? Let me just give it one final push. And I got that internship. I know what the interesting thing is that the person that forfeited that internship was my friend. Because later she told me, I got, but you know what? They weren't paying good money. So, or the money was not good enough. So you know what? I left and so she exited, but I got the opportunity. But you know how life is so funny. How things go round, 360. So I had a conversation with her at some point, and she was like, wow, I'm a pharmacist, but it's such a big headache because people keep calling me expecting that, as a pharmacist, you will know my daughter, there's some rash. What kind of medication will I use? And she's like, oh my Lord, I worked in a pharmacy, like a company. I don't know anything about all that. Because, in school, it was what we call like Beru Beso. Just go and cram, land, pass exam, and be done. But your internship gives you that opportunity to do what? To learn practical things. So I worked in a community pharmacy where we sold the in terms of medications, the most expensive ones and the cheapest ones. We could count vitamin C one by one, 10 tablets, and sell you 10 naira vitamin C. But we could sell you Royal Bee honey that will cost 20,000, 30,000, 40,000. That was the kind of pharmacy. And so the experience I gained was unimaginable. Till now, I still use that experience. People call me. I'm not in core pharmacy right now. I'm in HR now. But people still call me and ask me all sorts of things. And that knowledge has never gone away. Now, a higher pay. I think they were paying them 50,000. I earned only 25,000 at Julie Pharmacy. But that experience, it meant so much to me. So the lesson here is also what? Be willing to defer gratification. As young people, we want to make money on time. We want to do it and do it now. We want to hit it big. But there are times that you may just need to go, the hard way is not the only way, but it may be a tougher way. Ultimately, there's still light at the end of the tunnel. So be willing to defer gratification. That's another lesson, that I want you to take away. All right, moving on. So now let me, another lesson is that, and even though I had given up was the last bus stop, God still came through. So have faith and trust that at the end of the day, once you put your trust in God and do the rest, every other thing will do what? Will come round full circle. All right, so let me continue with my story. At Fitting Healthcare PLC, okay, at Fitting Healthcare PLC, I became the first regional sales manager, female regional sales manager. And I'm talking about a company that's been in existence since 1995. So that's how many years now? 1995, 2024? 29 years, so we're going to be 30 years next. But way back then, all our regional sales managers were men. And so we would enter a meeting and I'll be the only woman. But you know what, I didn't really care because I saw all of us as equals, all delivering on our, tasks and our activities. So because I was putting in my best, right, I grew through the ranks and then became the first female regional sales coordinator before first female regional sales manager. And even in that conversation, part of what I also gathered later was that some people were like, she's too young. She only just joined how many years? How can she be a regional sales manager? And that's why the title coordinator even came first before regional sales manager. But ultimately, I still got it. Now, let me tell you the real story that, I wanted to share about this. So being a regional sales coordinator, you're expected to move on to the next level, which is regional sales manager. And then there was a restructuring in my team. And my team was merged with another team. And that team already had an RSM, which is a regional sales manager that was even male. So somehow I had to go back to being what you call a senior rep. Because you have reps, you become a senior rep, then you become a coordinator and a manager. Or from senior rep, just go straight to manager. So I had to go back to being a senior rep. And it was almost like a demotion because I'm progressing and then I have to take a step back. I have been discouraged. Shouldn't I have given up that? But you know what? I didn't allow that to, distract me. Fine, I'm a senior rep again. I had to visit institutions, do what you have to do, add value, focus. And within a year or two, the regional sales manager said he was leaving for another organization. And guess who became regional sales manager? I did. Because in that period where I felt like there was a lot of, I felt like I took some steps back. I still focused. I didn't feel like, there's no point here. I still focused and I continued to push and forge ahead. And that time came. So opportunities will still come your way. You just need to do what? To remain focused. And that's how I became what? Regional sales manager. Now I'll tell you another story about how I transited from marketing to training. Because they said I'm head of HR. And the transition went from marketing to training and then HR. And so I was passing by in my office one day. And my Oga just called me, Adejoke, come. And I thought, what's he calling me for? And I went to meet him. And he said, you know what? We're considering having a training manager. Are you interested? And I was in shock. Apparently what had happened is that they had been looking for a training manager at Fitting Healthcare PLC. And they had thought about so many people. In fact, they brought in one white woman at some point, but she left. And then they were thinking of getting an ex-product manager. And you know what happened? My Oga said, I just walked by. As I walked by, I just thought, wait a minute, why can't we consider Adejoke? Now, why did he take that decision so easily at that point? Because of value add. Opportunities will come, but it is only those who have prepared themselves, who have added value, that when that opportunity comes, it will be brought to you live and direct. And so that's how I became the training manager. It was also a huge risk because I was leaving sales and marketing. It's like the creme de la creme. And I was going into training. Who knew about training? What was training? It was just a new department. It had never been properly established. And eventually, I took that call. But you know what? Training led me to becoming a GM. So in other words, even in your careers, even in your courses of study, it may appear that, your progression may not be straight up like that. Sometimes it may be lateral. You may move this way, move that way, but ultimately, you will still progress as long as you're doing what? You are adding value. So I'll continue with the story. And don't worry, I'll be rounding up soon. And from then, like I said, I became the first regional sales manager, the first training manager, the first general manager. So dare to dream, that's another lesson. Do not be comfortable looking at, where you are now and, that's all you're aspiring for. Push for greatness. Today is an ode to what? An ode to what? An ode to greatness. And that's why we are sharing this story. So humble beginnings, it's okay. But you know what? Humble beginnings can become, great endings. I told you how I started even jumping buses. At the end of the day, I have my own car. It's an SUV. I'm comfortable by the grace of God. And so I remember standing at bus stops and looking at people in cars and thinking, do these people have two heads? Thinking that even those in cars have no problems. They have their problems, trust me. But ultimately, at the end of the day, when you are focused, you will get what you want. So one or two learnings, and then, so I've told you about the story of my career switch. I've told you about being willing to take risks, even though your risk must be calculated. And don't be afraid of change. Give your best in everything that you're doing. That's very critical. Right? And I think I'll just land on a few things about shattering glass ceilings. So there are a lot of women I see in the hall, and I think that's important, right? To give that female representation. And that's not to say that we do not value the male gender. We value them just as much. We're only just saying for a female, female generation, you need to value yourself and know that you are good enough. You are good enough to achieve. Like I said, I started my career and I was in a room full of people that they were all men. In fact, they used to call us salesmen. There were no saleswomen. And if you remember what that MC had said, when he said, and even all the gentlemen in skirts. So it wasn't something that was difficult. We were salesmen, and even I was a salesman in that sense. I didn't feel out of place. I would enter a room, we're having meetings, and I would still say what I had to say. I didn't feel like I'm a woman here, so you know what, I'm not supposed to say anything, I'm just supposed to keep quiet, right? I would speak my mind. And somehow, there were so many other men, but again, I was the one that was made regional sales manager. There were so many other people, I was the one that was made training manager. And of course, for an organization that for years, all their general managers had been men, I was one of those that broke the jinx and became the first female general manager. Now we have another female general manager. In fact, when I was RSM, the second RSM was a woman that I mentored, and she also became the second RSM, female. So what am I saying? For those of us that have the skills, that have the knowledge, that have, whatever the competencies, let us be willing to invest in other people. And that's why this program is such a great program. Because I see all the young people here, and I see, the coaches who are also trying to help people to be better at what they do. And this is something that, we should support. I wish that, perhaps I'd gotten the flyer earlier. I probably would have invited so many other people as well for this program. But it's a program that is worthy, of emulation. It's a program that is worthy of commending. Ultimately, it's all about grooming the next generation of leaders. And so in our own space, no matter how, small it is, how are you giving back to society? How are you giving back to the next generation? How are you coaching and mentoring other leaders? And so even if you're in secondary school, don't think that it's too early. It's not too early. Start that journey and start it now. You can have small focus groups. You can have conversations. Hezekiah came up with this idea. And to me, it's just an amazing idea. So ultimately, truly, you can get to greatness. You can get, to the best. You can get to wherever you choose to get to, right? So the sky is not even just, it's way beyond. In my organization, you know what? We have a theme for this year. And that theme is what? Is the future. And if you look at the graphics, we have a jet and it's going into space. To say that the sky is not even what we are looking at. We are looking at the galaxy now. I know when you look at the galaxy, the millions of stars, the billions of stars that are in the galaxy. So we've set ourselves such a high target, and we are telling ourselves we are going to go beyond that. So it's an ode to greatness. The call to action is everybody do the best that you can. Focus, and by God's grace, you will get where you want to. So thank you very much for